All right, welcome kings and queens. Today we are talking love and marriage Huntsville. I continue to shake my head at Carlos King. I really don't like what he's done with this show. How did we get here? How do we become so comfortable that it's now okay to use someone's mother as a storyline? This is the first time we've seen a Black mother depicted in the manner of a sexual escapade. And to be honest, it's uncalled for. All you're doing, Carlos, is regurgitating the filth that was put out there on the stage of the reunion. Because if it were your mother, ain't no way. You wouldn't go for it. You definitely find a way to put your foot down. And I challenge each cast member to think, because if it were your mother, you wouldn't have it. It doesn't matter what the angle was. You would not want your mother depicted in a negative way. Show that queen the respect that she deserves, period. And please stop calling her by her first name. It's uncouth. We refer to our matriarchs as Miss or Mama. So I thought about how I wanted to do this assessment, and there's a number of ways that I could have swung this one. I think each character portrays something symbolic to Carlos King. And I'm going to come back and do a different review on that, probably after the show ends. Because we can't even focus on the positive right now. Every time he issues a positive, he seems to find a way to trump the positive with drama and negativity. For some odd reason, this show continues to stay on course when it comes to jabbing and demeaning the women. I don't like it. I really don't. I read a book many years ago. I probably was 25 years old when I read the book. And the author shared that many people will never achieve a great assignment in life because they want their beginning to be spectacular. So we get lost in the drama as producers, Carlos King, Tyler Perry, Mona Scott, and we'd rather take the toxic narrative and sacrifice the honor and the integrity of these queens because drama guarantees you a profit. For those of you who are just tuning in, or if you're new to the channel, welcome. I am Queen Sheba. I cover a variety of hot topics specific to reality television. But most importantly, I hone in on the behavioral and the psychological traits of the Black experience.
This is not a drill. This is not a drill.
You know what's strange to me? Something that I've noticed, in my opinion. It's strange to me how Carlos King appears to be willing to die on the sword, before allowing the men to take a hit or a loss. I feel like he's very careful in how he portrays the men. Just something I wanted to share with you. One thing I will say, though, I feel like he's placed Marcel as the lead of this show when it comes to the men. I can definitely see that maneuver. So if you're listening, Martel, you are now being portrayed as the lost boy, the lost cause. And you have nobody to blame but yourself. God had his hand on you while you were married. You were covered. Your kingdom, your legacy was secure. And by a spiritual right, you were on your way in more ways than one. You allowed your lust to dictate your behavior, and the walls of Jericho came tumbling down all around you. Martel, you will not recover from this. Hear me. Listen to me. You will not recover spiritually, emotionally, financially. You will not recover. You took what God gave you and you made a mockery of it. Your spirit will weep. And my prayer for you is that you find your way. You got tricked out of your spot, King. And unfortunately, you are now the peasant. So let's move on. On the last reunion, let me go back. Bell Collective, that the other show. On the reunion of Bell Collective, Carlos King had a strong reaction to the domination of Black women rendered by Black men, and he shared that it reminds him of a personal family dynamic. I felt that. And I expected a shift after him having that vulnerable moment. So again, you said all that, but how do we get to this point where we're reaching for somebody else's mother? I can't let this go. So my question to you, Carlos King, why repeat the rhetoric and or the narrative? I'm really starting to think that you're in love with creating moments around Black women. All right, let's get into it. So Kimmy opened up the scene sharing a potential sell in their real estate venture. However, that was quickly lost, in my opinion, because the focus became the Holts. And one thing that seems to occur throughout the episode is the Holts seem to be everybody's storyline. It's sickening at this point. This cannot continue to go on. Just want to say that. Maurice, let Kimmy have her shine. I noticed you tried to sneak a rolling credit in for yourself in reference to her hustle. But let her shine for a second. She's a smart woman. So Maurice talked about what should have been done differently. So he's recapping the dinner and sharing his feelings about his question when he asked the group, what could they have done differently? And his reaction to how he heard nobody speak of what they would have done differently. And now that he calls that out, Maurice, I don't recall hearing you say what you could have done differently because you got involved in a fight. So what would you have done differently? You know, it's funny to me that people want to change the world, but nobody wants to start with themselves. It's too many Scots on the show, in my opinion, and it's starting to dominate the narrative and the overall theme of the show. And that's not a good thing. There has to be balance. There has to be restoration. Just my opinion. I feel like when it came to the brother, Mark, everyone, and when I say everyone, I'm referring to the Scots, they seem to be afraid and tiptoed around assigning direct responsibility to Mark for his behavior, which tells me there's a reason you don't want to piss him off. Mark may know things, and Mark may be a trumped up version of Martell. I'm going to leave that there. Them the torch, and they ran with it. Martell, you owe the grandmother of your children an apology, sir. You owe that lady an apology. You started this. And I appreciate the efforts of Maurice because he genuinely stood 10 toes down and tried to push his brother to do the right thing. Child, Marceau didn't give a damn. To me, based on Marceau's facial expressions, he even giggled, right? He's down with what Mark is saying. He showed up at that park to save face. Now, to me, if Marceau is showing up, this means, based on my observation, this is what I believe, that somehow or another Marceau could probably be impacted monetarily. So that's probably the only reason he was there, for his own interest. I don't think Marceau and Louis are the only two men on this show who are not spiritually covered by their wives. But that's a whole other sermon. This entire time, we've been looking at Marceau as the enemy. However, I'm starting to think that maybe he feels trapped and was somewhat bamboozled by Letitia and Wanda. Look how Wanda got online. Go back and find it. I think it was this week. She got online and she threatened Kiki. She threatened Kiki to get on board, or she was going to release a tape and tell everything. Now imagine that energy coming at him way back when he was younger. And allegedly he was forced to marry Letitia, according to Miss Wanda. I believe that Marceau acts out because he doesn't want to be there or feels like he was finessed. I think by the time he realized Tisha and Wanda had dropped them Fifth Ward bees on him, honey, it was too late. Got him. I've yet to hear that man publicly declare his love for her. He refused to renew his vows in Vegas, and I don't think he renewed them in private. He refused to take her to Africa. But I have heard him asking her not to force him to protect her, which to me, so when we think about symbolism, the real message, to me, this is directly in line with him feeling like, damn, don't put me in, don't stop forcing me. Like this puts him in line with him feeling like he was forced to marry her, if that's true, based on what Miss Wanda shared. Y'all got to pay attention. He uses words like force, symbolic of Tisha and or Wanda forcing his hand in tough moments. You saw his reaction to Wanda touching him. Go back and run the tape. Normally I run it for you, but I don't have time today. You saw his reaction to Wanda touching him, but did you watch her reaction to him pulling away? She touched him again, as if to imply, motherfucker, I'm in control, not you. And yes, I slipped in a curse word. The scene between Letitia and Destiny, oh my God, it was pathetic. I don't want to spend a lot of time there. It was absolutely pathetic. Two miserable Bettys living in the shadow of another woman's life. Listen, baby, you cannot pay me to hate on another woman like that. Ain't no way, boy. Ain't no way. Like, ladies, are you watching yourselves on camera? You know what? Do y'all have real friends? Because a real friend will let you know. Girl, this ain't it. You ladies are two full-grown women with children. Neither one of you work, allegedly. Do you really not have anything better to do? Because an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Destiny complains about everything. This lady complains about everything. This lady's even complaining about her new boyfriend. Mad, complaining about having to do something nice for her new man. Imagine that. Y'all, I can't make this stuff up. You saw it on scene. Go back. Go watch it. She doesn't even want to cook a nice meal for the guy. You don't live with him. You see him, what, once or twice a month? Couple of weekends, and you don't want to cook? You know, it's funny. It tells me that Destiny doesn't really understand the essence. A true relationship, caring, nurturing, creating value with your man, operating in your femininity. Destiny is a taker. You know why? She's a user. She probably wants this man to spend every last penny while she does nothing. It's give and take, girl. I believe in Destiny's head, people are something to use, and it's evident every time she opens her mouth. Now, this was the perfect opportunity for her to highlight this man in a positive and start to warm us up to viewers to him, right? As a warm introduction. But what did she do? She threw him under the bus by speaking of him in a way that was not positive, in my opinion. Moses, if you're listening, run for us. Run.